How do they do it? Why do they do it? Riding and crashing and riding and winning and always faster and faster.
Well, welcome back everybody to With Antone MotoGP 2025, and we're heading into Valencia round 22. And thanks to everybody who's been watching and commenting. It's been really great, and it's been a great experience to engage with you guys out there in the community. So it's the final round of season 2025. The World Championship is coming to a close. We know Marcmarquez wrapped that up a few rounds ago. So what we've seen this year is some terrible accidents, some shock DNFs, some major crashes, and also some major team drama. And ownership, well, KTM have been dominating, and ICMA, this just recently, the motor show in Italy, we're going to talk about some exciting rumours coming out of there. Big winners, big surprises, and some big questions about the sport's future this year with Dorna coming into the mix. So let's break down and have a look each team went in Portugal and how we might think that they move forward into Valencia. And more importantly for me, the post-season first test for 2026 in Tuesday, which will be absolutely fantastic to see. Now, what we've seen this year is 6 different winners in the last 6 rounds, and this is probably due to the no Marcmarquez factor. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but I want to start with Ducati. And again, no Ducatis qualifying on the front row, whereas earlier in the season we wouldn't have heard of this. Pecco's nightmare is continuing. It's now 4 DNFs in a row. So the pressure's still on him. He's still lacking confidence and he's confused. And this confusion may mean he will finish as low as 5th in this year's World Championship because he's only 10 points up from Pedroacosta. Now, a little bit of press about Aldeguer's pass on Brad Binder. Look, for me, no problems. It was there. It was a tight pass. Look, the aero went flying. When you're going to be hanging bits of aero off the side of the bike, I don't think that that's a reason for concern. So anyway, I thought it was great to see Bulega on the Ducati. He built, and he ended up with putting the bike in points for 15th. Now, officially, that's putting it in the points where Pecco didn't. And I think for Ducati now, it's about, as they lead into Valencia, it's about trying to save a little bit of pride, restore a little bit of faith in the red team and get Digi Delinea happy again. Now, Bulliger's going to race again this weekend. And I also understand he'll be on the bike for the test on Tuesday. And I think Tuesday's bringing something from the past for Pecco. I think that GP26 is the GP24. And a special shout out to Alex Marquez, who finished 2nd in the Portugal race. That front tyre really started to degrade, and that kind of limited him in his chase to get onto Bezz. So Aprilia, how are they going? Well, Bezz is on the charge. He put the bike on the top of the box, and it's made it 3 wins in for the season for Marco Bezzecchi, and his confidence continues to build. He's carrying that Aprilia, and he is carrying the support of the team around him. Now, how lucky is Bezz been with those crashes for Jorgemartin? What it meant was that the Aprilia technicians and Rivola's team could focus on what Bezz wanted, give him exactly the bike to fit his unique riding style. And that means that it's been really being able to develop. And let's face it, he deserves 3rd place more than Pecco. Even Pecco said he deserves it more than him. Ogura had a great ride. He put it into 7th in the top 10 in Portugal. And of course, Fernandez had that huge crash, so he did not start. Now, speaking of Aprilia and excitement, Jorgemartin, number 1, or number 89, as we all fondly remember him, is hoping to ride again this weekend. He's on the entry list. He's got to pass a final fitness test. And do you know he's only started in 12 of the 42 races this season? And Fabiano Stercellacini is bringing the RS GP26 for Tuesday's test. So that's going to be very exciting to see how it goes. So over in KTM, what's happening? Well, Pedroacosta, first ever front row start, and he put the bike on the box, finishing in 3rd place. Now, I've got to ask a question of you guys out there. Now, you're the experts in MotoGP. Okay, Acosta's the next best big thing, I should say. 2 years now without a victory in MotoGP. What do you think? Is he as good as what we thought? Yeah, sure, the bike, but there's been opportunities throughout the season. I thought he might have done a little bit better. It's nice to see his attitude, but let me know what you think about Pedro Acosta. And Binder was solid. Yes, he had the little bingle, but he was solid in his race. And really, KTM are so close that I think that this weekend in Valencia, Pedro Acosta is going to send that KTM, and I wouldn't be surprised. Now, ICMA, the big moto show that happens in Italy, a major release and what's going on. There's a rumour going around about CF Moto. Now, you remember when at their troubles, CF Moto was going to be a big share buyer, but they weren't. I think they bought around 2% of the shares. So the rumour going around, as we know, CF Moto are keen to be in Moto Grand Prix racing. They're in Moto 3 at the moment, and they've done quite well racing there. But the rumour is €100 million offer to buy the KTM offering and take the grid spots for KTM. So Pit Buyer has always been mentioning about an Asian investor. Maybe it's these CF Moto that's going to put it on the grid. So let's have a look and see. And look, one thing I want to make a comment about, no marcmarquez makes a huge effect to the entire grid. His mental disintegration on those other riders starts when he walks into the paddock on Thursday afternoon, and it doesn't stop until he leaves on Sunday. So maybe there's something more in this, and these guys can actually ride free a little bit and actually explore without him being there to pressure. So Honda, HRC, look, surprise, surprise, Johann Mir, the man that could find a crash, he didn't crash it, but he had technical problems. Now, I believe this is to do with the clutch. That's, of course, they never kind of want to admit what the problems are. Normally it's an electronic problem, but he was out. Now, this quick development is starting to show the European arm of HRC are pushing through the development, but this will not be good for Honda and HRC back in Japan. Anyone who has a Honda, anyone out there who rides a Honda, knows that reliability and Honda are two things. So this is a little bit of a loss of face for the Honda technicians, and particularly the factory back in Japan. Now, Johann Zarco, we talked about him last week. What a great improve, and what a difference it makes when you can have two bikes in the pits exactly the same. Now, perhaps the new parts aren't working as well as what he would like on there, but he put it on into the top 10 in 9th. And it also makes me realise that perhaps there is a bit more of a future there for Zarco if he gets the right support. And what about Chantra? He was channeling Max Biaggi and he popped it up on the back wheel and he almost flipped the thing coming off the main corner there. And I just had those memories of Biaggi. You got to keep your foot on the back brake. Well, I guess these days it's a foot on the thumb lever to keep that front wheel down. But anyway, I think HRC's goal for Valencia, stable. Let's run, let's do well, no one get injured, no one chuck it into the gravel. Let's be nice and fit and get ready for Tuesday's test. Takes us on to Yamaha. Now, Fabio had a front row start. He put it into 6th for the GP. It was a good ride. He was quite defensive there for a long time. He held off a number of the challenges there. It was a great battle between him and Binder at one point. But you know what? You know my views, he should get off the bike for 27. But here's the thing, he made a huge mistake staying on there for 25 and 26. He should have got off it and let the 10 million, 20 million euro, he should have let it go. 27 will be a lottery for Yamaha. Now, speaking of lotteries, Fernandez is back as a wild card this weekend in Valencia on the V4. And speaking V4s, Toprak, he jumped on the V4 for the first test just a couple of days ago, and he's showing some great signs. Times, I don't think times are important at this stage. He's got to get comfortable, he's got to get that seating position right, and he's really got to make it happen. But I've got a question for you. We know that the V4 has been electronically limited in terms of top horsepower and top speed. What will happen on Tuesday when they let that thing go? It could be an amazing situation. You can't tell me that that bike is not going to have some power. And in leading into Valencia, it's probably the last chance for Jack Miller to do something. He actually rode quite well in Valencia in 23. Remember, we didn't go there last year because of the rain and the floods, terrible flooding. And if you're attending this weekend, it's going to be a chance of 20% chance of rain. But I understand that the train, I've been to Valencia a couple of times, you normally take the train out there to the little train station. I believe that train may not be running because of the flood damage. They haven't repaired it. So anyway, the good news is Tuesday, fine, 18 degrees. It's going to be cool. Won't be an early morning start, but at least it won't be raining. So let's see how Yamaha go for that test on the Tuesday. My final team, which I've added in most of these videos I'm going to do, is Liberty Dorna. Now, Dorna and the MSMA, they must agree on a new 5-year arrangement. Now, they're getting close to this. March, they have to decide by 2026. But the factories, with River at the helm, for the Manufacturers Association, they're pushing for more financial contribution from Liberty, as being quite strong in this matter, trying to make sure they believe constructors are doing more. And also, it's interesting to see what Liberty are doing. They're starting to recruit and bring a couple of the top names, Wayne Rainey and a couple of the guys from the Moto America, perhaps into management. So this is an interesting change for Liberty, trying to strengthen this North American market by bringing in these experienced guys. So wait and see what happens there. And I want to finish up with Carmelo Espeleta. You know, he was asked a question about Moto2 contracts. We don't really follow it here on With Antone, but I want to make the point. So American Racing terminated a contract they'd signed with Ramirez. And Carmelo was asked, Carmelo, what's your view on this? And he said, I'm going to let the teams sort this out. Now, he certainly didn't do that with MotoGP. There was no team sorting it out. He stomped his foot. Now, for a smart guy, this is bad PR. And I just think that the look is really not quite a great one for Carmelo as the CEO of Dorna. Now, my tips for this weekend, I am going to say that Acosta's going to go for it. It's a win or bin situation. Alex Marquez, Marco Bezzecchi, and I think Fabioquartararo might do something in terms of the top 3 or 4 on the box this weekend. So it's the final round of the longest ever MotoGP season with a great big focus, yes, on the race, but also on the Tuesday for the 2026 first test. I think all teams will be trying to keep it upright, keep it out of the gravel, and more importantly, no injuries. So what do you think KTM are going to do about this rumour about CF Moto? Pecco, is it possible for him to end it on the box and try to turn the season around? And there's plenty to do with what you think about what might be happening with each of the team's performances. Jorgemartin, he's back. What will he do? And can Bulega do what famously Troy Bayliss did back in 2006? If you haven't watched that race, then I would recommend doing it. But do you think Bulega can do something special? Anyway, why don't you drop your thoughts down below in the comments. Let's have a discussion about what we are going to see this weekend in Valencia. And I look forward to talking to you after the Valencia round and after that first test for 2026. Okay, bye for now.